Body oils accumulate on leather very often, since many items that we have and enjoy come into contact with our skin day to day. These could be accessories like wallets and pouches, book covers, belts, to favorite furniture like couches, chairs, and even automobile upholstery and seats and armrests. And when these oils accumulate on and in the leather, it can cause some surprisingly significant damage, especially over time. So we're going to go over some helpful things to keep in mind, what to use to clean it, and then an example, step by step, of removing body oils from leather. First, we're going to look at how body oil affects leather. So body oils are like most other oils when they come into contact with leather itself. And I'll show you this as an example, as a section of leather. So when the oils get put on the surface, they actually get pulled into these fibers through something called capillary action. And once those oils are in there, mostly they're going to stay in there. As an initial thought, that might be a great thing, right? Like we love our leather to be well conditioned, and we often put oils and fats and waxes into it for conditioning. However, if you look at furniture that has had a lot of oil concentrated in certain areas, often behind our heads or on the armrests where our arms and hands are laying, you'll likely see shiny areas or circular areas where body oil has been concentrated in them, and that leather can be weaker and more damaged. And body oils contain many different elements. The composition is very unique to each individual, and that can even change over time for the same person. Also, body oil will have a pH value, often very different than that of leather. And here's a pH chart showing the range of some common items and where leather is. And essentially, when materials with a different pH come into contact, they're going to act to neutralize and balance each other. So if you've got one that's a higher, one that's a lower, they're going to work to come around here. And when they do that, they often release water and salt as part of the process. And water and salt can certainly damage leather. And beyond that, there can be lots of things in body oils. So those other elements can damage the fibers too. Overall, it's really not great to have body oils on leather. So, can the leather be cleaned? In many cases, the oils can be pulled out of the leather, and then that leather cleaned and conditioned to put it into better shape. And sometimes when those body oils have rested on and seeped into that leather for extended periods, the internal damage might be permanent. Usually, cleaning any leather, especially in areas where it comes into contact with the body often, can be a helpful thing to keeping those fibers strong and durable for a really long time. Enough chit chat, let's check out the example. So here we have a relatively clean sample, and here has some body oils on it. And you could look, it kind of happens in a gradient pattern where it's denser in more areas and then it kind of fades out. Because when you think about it, if we're laying on items or doing things or moving, we're not moving in like perfect lines, and our body has curves and shapes to it. So it's going to come into contact kind of in that gradient pattern where it kind of radiates out a little bit, especially because the movements are going to be, varied over time and essentially affect an area and not a very specific spot. So even looking at this sample, we could see that the oils are kind of in a little bit of an organic gradient pattern. And you'll likely see that too on headrests and armrests and things like that. So one way that can help is using something called odorless mineral spirits. And these are often used by painters and require absolutely proper ventilation, especially because they are odorless. So as with any products, do your research beforehand and then make a choice as to if something may work well for you, because doing it safely is always the most important. All right, so put down our foil to protect our workspace. Then we'll take our sample with the oil on it. We're going to put it here. So for applying, we could use a few different things. One is a soft cotton rag. This can be helpful because it's going to be relatively soft and not scratch your leather, and lint free, so it's not going to leave anything much behind. Another option is to use a wool dauber. This can be great as it has a little long metal handle to it and the natural fibers up front, so it allows you to apply things that way. For this one, we're going to use the dauber. So we'll open our mineral spirits, and we'll take our dauber and dip it in. And then we're going to want to close our spirits or cover it. And then we can apply the spirits to our area. And what will happen is that'll help draw some of the greases out. And you may have to do this several times, letting it dry in between. And that way you'll know how much is left. But since that grease was going into the fibers, it may take some time for it to come out. So you may have to give it a few passes until you see that there is no more left. When that's dry, you may have lost some moisture, and it's possible that it may have lightened some of the color areas around it. In that case, you may want to use something like a quality leather conditioner and apply some conditioning to that, and that'll help restore some of that color and give it its richness and moisture back. And the oils are removed, and it'll look more like the original one before it got all greasy. So there's a look into body oils on leather. If you have any questions, let us know. If you have experience with this, please certainly do share. And there you have it. Until next time.